Fuckface.
Everyone. Unfortunately, this isn't good news. Of course, he waited till just before the show started, but he's not with us right anymore. I'm going to try to get through this. He has a final message that he wanted to say, so I'm going to try to read it, trying to be strong. If you are reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things to say before I go. My body failed before my brain. I am of sound mind as I write this January 1st, 2026. If you wonder about any of my choices for my estate or anything else, please know I'm free of any coercion or inappropriate influence of any sort. I promise. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I'm not a believer, but I have to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so looks so attractive to me. So here I go. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior and look forward to spending an eternity with him. The part about me not being a believer should be quite quickly resolved if I wake up in heaven. I won't need any more convincing than that. I hope I'm still qualified for entry.
That was a perfect Scott Adams send-off in regards to it. A lot of people were commenting, and Scott Adams said that he was going to be converting to Christianity right at the end. He did his final message. He was talking about that, but I kind of like how he sort of put a little disclaimer on it, very Scott Adams-y of, I'll find out whether I'm right or not here really soon, because if it does work, then I guess I'll be showing up in heaven. It's a pretty good investment, but otherwise, he wouldn't know. Sad news of the day is not unexpected. I mean, everybody was pretty much expecting this. I know Mark and I have talked about it offline. I've thought about bringing it up, but it was just kind of hard to delve into it because this is a rough subject. But Scott Adams did pass away. He meant a lot to a lot of people, and I've even had an exchange with Scott at one time. Read some of his books. I think he is a very valuable member of the community. Helped out Trump a lot. Trump had a very nice tribute to him today. And let me pull that up real quickly. He did have a truth out very early. Sadly, the great influencer Scott Adams has passed away. He was a fantastic guy who liked and respected me when it wasn't fashionable to do so. He bravely fought a long battle against a terrible disease. My condolences go out to his family and all of his friends and listeners. He will be truly missed. God bless you, Scott. And what is really kind of infuriating is I don't know if anybody saw it, but People magazine had a quite a different take, and it always disgusts me when magazines who are leftists do this. So this is how, the obituary for the head of ISIS was in the Washington Post, right? Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, a stir religious scholar at helm of Islamic State, dies of cocaine. Sounds almost like we're celebrating this guy's life, right? I mean, how else do I interpret it? But here's Scott Adams. Scott Adams, disgraced Dilbert creator, dies at 68. subheadline: Dilbert was pulled from wide circulation after Adams' racist rant in 2023. So if you again, you can't hate the mainstream media enough. It is just despicable. So I don't know, Mark, if you have any thoughts, and thank you for letting me run for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't mind. He was murdered by the deep state. He was murdered by the left. He was murdered by the Democrats. Cancer was afflicted upon him. His life was destroyed. He reclaimed his life in the wreckage, economic wreckage of what they did to him. They were rooting for him to die. I mean, cancer can be emotionally created. It can be physically or psychologically created by stress, as we now know. They murdered him by doing what they did to him. And anyone who believes that we live in a free country, look at the life of Scott Adams. And you could say, well, he was able to live on. He was censored by every single syndicated newspaper in the country for no reason because of his words. He was not a bomb thrower. He was not a right-wing Abby Hoffman. They just decided to destroy this guy because of his early prediction and support of Trump. That is the country we live in the civil war that we are in. He is one of the first casualties of the civil war on the right conservative side. There are others who've been wounded. There are others who have been financially destroyed. But I feel that they murdered him. He came from a town in Windham, New York, where I lived for many years. We came from, I wasn't born there. He was, but I lived in that town, and I understood the people of Windham, New York, in the Eastern Catskill Mountains, a very, how can I say, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps kind of town. It's a very snowy area in a very depressed region of northern Greene County, and that's where he was born and raised. I, years later, of course, ran a ski shop there at Windham Mountain, which we've covered, I don't know, in one of these stories, but nevertheless, the people of that town were very, very fiercely independent, and a lot of Scottish descendants, a lot of Irish descendants, and a lot of people who came from the Rip Van Winkle school of immigration. And in fact, that's kind of where Rip Van Winkle, the story was told. But Scott Adams, fiercely independent guy, very close friends with Dr. Drew, who I spoke to yesterday. Adams was a fighter, and he fought to the last breath, and he converted to Christianity. He was kind of a agnostic. I'm not really sure what his what his philosophical view was, but I think that was his sister, Eric, who was reading that?
No, that actually is his ex-wife. His first ex-wife.
That was nice.
Yeah, they got there. Apparently, they might have gotten divorced, but I guess they were best friends. And she kind of stepped forward in the past week or two. She's been helping him behind the scenes for a while, but hasn't really talked about it. I guess she's very, very shy and total civilian.
The point is, this guy was a fighter, and Trump gave him a tip of the hat, which was very nice. But I will stick to my belief that they indirectly murdered him, by their savagery.
That's fair. And by the way,
that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say on it. But go ahead.
No, his loyalty to Trump was unwavering.
Yeah.
And unlike many, he was not a grifter. He came to Trump before it was popular, sacrificed everything. I mean, his
he had
whole
made
state,
millions
all public
on the cartoons, so he didn't.
He lost millions too.
I don't know if he lost millions, but I mean, cutting him off after 35, 40 years of revenue, I don't know if you've lost millions, but nevertheless, it was a demonstrative, undemocratic, fascist move of censorship, and not censorship for political ideas. There was nothing within Dilbert that was revolutionary. It was kind of a banal, bland kind of cartoon that most, I come from the Crumb world of cartoons, from the Fritz the Cat world of cartoons, from that world, Terry Zwigoff world of cartoons. But Dilbert was syndicated for a reason, and it was because it was, like Charlie Brown, right? It was that kind of.
I'm going to push back a little because you're in a different world. Dilbert meant a lot to those who worked in the corporate world, which I don't know how much time you've spent in the actual straight out corporate office space type of world. And Dilbert was I'm just telling you. So it
Yeah,
meant a
no,
lot to
you're
the people
you're
in our
making my
city.
point because it was a
Yeah.
corporate cartoon, which is what I agree
Yep.
it was. But we got a lot of other news, so we got to move on.
Well,
So
before we do, I'm in the spirit of Scott Adams, which I think you would appreciate. I can't help but do this, but he always had a simultaneous sip of coffee
oh, right,
every morning.
right.
That was his preferred drink. And you know, I thought about this. I was like, should I do it? Should I not? But you know what? Scott would do this, I believe. We have our own coffee, the America's Untold Story Supreme Breakfast Blend. We also have a Magic Bullet Blend. And if you want some really good coffee, we do have it. And you know, everybody, thank you so much. It does help support us too when you get the coffee. But all right, moving on. We do have a ton of stories. We can jump right to how about to follow up where we were before, which is
Where were we?
well, we are icing it in Minnesota, and
Right
that's
on.
continuing to go on with Nick Sortor.
Oh yeah, he got stuck in a spot there, huh?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty uncomfortable with a bunch of cowardly people who you know, boxing cars, and it's just utterly ridiculous. There's actually a video going around. I haven't seen it by Dave Portnoy, but I can't share it anyway. Where there's this guy who was carrying an American flag, and they were harassing the hell out of him, and he wound up knocking out the first one, and then just knocking out one after another, after another, after another.
Wow.
Very fun video. I encourage everybody to go look up Dave Portnoy's timeline. I think other people are sharing it. I think Tim Pool shared it. We can't do it because it's violence. And
Sadly, I'm about to predict it. I believe 2 or 3 ICE agents will be killed in the next 3 to 4 weeks by the other side, either through snipers or handguns of some. I hate to predict this, but it seems to be coming despite my predictions or not predictions. They are hunting for them now, and I believe 2 or 3 of them will be taken down in the next month. And that being said, Eric and I talked during the week about apparently they're training anti-ICE protesters on how to use their vehicles to maneuver like the woman was maneuvering with her T-bone driving and passing by ICE caravans and then cutting them off, T-boning them. And when they approach, driving away, doing it repeatedly. There's apparently training for that being done by anti-ICE leaders. We're in a civil war, folks. You could sit there and scratch your fat fucking asses all day, but it's on. It's on. You've got situations with these police chiefs. That weeping guy, Eric, what was that about? Up in Portland, that police chief weeping.
He's just such a goofball. I mean, he's sitting there having it. He's weeping because he had to admit that, yes, these 2 people who, you know, they picked up were tied to TDA. And then he starts going and blubbering. But for all of you in my Latin community, I know how hard it is. And I'm just like, what does that have to do with the
It was so
and
bizarre.
I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm just sitting here going, most of the Latinos I know would be like, what a P word. You know, I mean, it's just so pathetic. I'm like, this is a police chief?
This is what's left after you've replaced all the other people and then appoint someone who is DEI, like the woman in Philadelphia. Have you seen this crazy woman, the chief of police of Philly? Dude, it's no. Like, so, we're going to smoke your ass. We're going to, I mean, she's right out of the ghetto. I mean, I mean, there was an older black man, I think, who just retired, who was the chief of police in Philadelphia. And also the chief of police is a black guy in Chicago who is defending ICE nonstop, saying these are officers of the law. This crazy chick in Philly, I believe, should be cited in what I'm calling about with Eric last week. It's 18 USC 242, deprivation of rights under color of law, usually used against corrupt cops. But there's also statutes in there, especially in Georgia, North Carolina, where they're felonies for simply violating your oath of office to the United States Constitution. And we talked about this last week a little bit. And if you look into it, there doesn't have to be an incident. You can be arrested for simply violating your oath of office to the United States Constitution. This is under the DOJ. This would be Harmeet Dillon's civil rights violations. Apparently, the toughest are the felony laws in Georgia and North Carolina. So I suggest they start there to begin to take down some of these police chiefs who are not cooperating with federal authorities. This goes under Title VI of the U.S. Constitution, and you can make the argument, for instance, that that ICE officer, when he was dragged a couple of months ago and dragged 150 yards by a car, the lack of support by local authorities refusing to support the police, the ICE agents by the police, can be put with this statute, in my humble opinion. I'm not a lawyer, but if you read it, not even that closely, 18 U.S.C. 242 will cover not performing your duties as a law enforcement officer, not just beating some guy senseless, which the left has used ad infinitum. There's other aspects to 18 U.S.C. 242 that allow for not performing your duties to be arrested. It's a misdemeanor with a year in prison on the high end, and then a felony with 10 years in other states. And it varies from state to state, but it is a legal situation in every state in the country. And as I began to suggest last week, the DOJ, especially under Harmeet Dillon, has to begin using this to take down these people who are in positions of power under the color of law, which is what this is going on in these cities, these blue cities, Eric, around the country. By not providing support and being notified, not only they're not providing support, they're being notified by ICE, and then they're leaking the information to the anti-ICE people to show up immediately. That's a whole separate criminal statute. But by not providing support to like-minded federal agents with warrants, you are now violating your oath of office to the United States Constitution. Very cut and dry there, Eric.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe start with the red states and see if you can get the states to crack.
Yeah, you can start wherever you want, but the reality of it is, if bodily injury results, use the threat of dangerous weapons, felony, or certain aggravating factors, that could be up to 10 years in prison to the chiefs of police. And I think if you took 2 or 3 of them down, the rest of them are going to think twice about weeping in a press conference for the Trendaragua guy who was the pimp of the prostitute, both of them being shot as they attempted to ram with their car another ICE agent.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. On the other side of it, I don't have it pulled up, but it's not. There are surprising people who come out the other side. The Chicago police chief, I don't know if you saw him.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Wow, what a strong supporter of ICE.
Well, I mean, just not of ICE per se, but of cops.
Law enforcement.
And I think that was the bottom line. And actually, I did find it. Here we go.
Okay.
I think that he's perfectly on point, and this is not probably a fan of Trump.
Right.
Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed.
Yeah.
And that this could end in a deadly situation.
And the major point he's bringing up too, he said they are officers. I literally had an argument with somebody trying to say that the ICE are not police. It's like, no, they are law enforcement officer, you twit. You know,
absolutely. Marxists, again, trying to undermine both their training, their official policies, their warrants. They're trying to undermine. This is 24/7, as Mark Halpern pointed out in the Daily Mail this morning. There is no other sideism on the left cable news 24/7. There's no other news. He was saying today, I read this article by him. He was saying there is no other news. There's nothing about Iran. There's nothing about Venezuela. There's nothing about the budget. There's nothing about anything other than promoting with their megaphone, their Marxist megaphone, the nonstop media blast, trying to create a George Floyd situation. The number one enemy, as Eric pointed out, is the media. We have to focus full guns. The Barry Weiss thing and CBS is the model. That's what has to be done. Anything else on the outside is secondary. The number one enemy to the state is the mainstream media in cahoots with the Marxists and trying to get their message out nonstop 24/7. Until we take that apart, until we dismantle that, nothing can advance. Nothing.
By the way, speaking of Barry Weiss and CBS, I noticed that CBS came up during the Golden Globes speech by Glazer. It's like, oh yeah, the word is out. Here we go. Full tilt attack. Any way you can. Other people we know are also attacking, sadly, from the woke right. But it is interesting.
Well, this mother attack that the person who was the terrorist was a mother. Do you see? You talk about talking points. Mother of three, 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 killed by ICE.
Two of which she lost custody of. They buried that part. And
right. I'd like to give you a list of some other mothers of three that I am aware of. I'm going to give you their names, and Eric can fill in their crimes a little later. All mothers: Andrea Yates, Susan Smith, Casey Anthony, Mary Beth Tyning, Eileen Warnos, and Rosemary West. All mothers.
I didn't know Warnos was a mother, but
oh yeah,
nice.
she was.
What a nice addition.
Yeah, I did a little deep dive on her. All of them mothers. So CNN using the mother defense is not going to hold water. Most of them murdered 2 or 3 of their own children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Hence the mother defense may not hold up in court.
Good point. Now, speaking of news that they're not coming. Oh, by the way, Halpern did flip. We talked about it on Friday, how you said you couldn't believe Halpern was doing whatever.
I couldn't believe it.
When another video came out, Halpern did come out. He said, okay, seen the latest video here, really significantly strengthens the case of the Trump administration. So to his credit, he did back off, and he even said, if my children talk to the cops the way that those two did, and I don't know if you had seen that clip, but
no, I didn't see that clip, but everyone was shocked about his both sidesism when it was happening. It was enough to give them, again, this is about speed. I don't think people realize this. This is not about getting the facts right. This is about the speed of dissemination of false information by the mainstream media. To me, this is, seeing Kimmel up there with those T-shirts. That's enough to revoke your FCC license right there. I don't know why this is taking so long. The right seems to be flat-footed every time these things happen, and the left seems to be waiting in the wings for anything to happen with full-bore troops ready to go. Not that they're causing these things, but the reality of it is they put a certain atmospheric situation together out there, and then when the thing happens, they are ready to pounce on 7,000 different media levels, none of which the right can compete with because they are out of touch with the workings and mechanisms of the mainstream media.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's frustrating to watch that.
Well, speaking of censorship of Scott Adams, I just want to point out that in the UK, it's just off the rails. They're now censoring Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA and deleting it from radio. It's not like it came out yesterday, Eric. But yet the
even
UK
anti-American in a lot of ways. So
I know. I know. It's not like this just came out. They're a little late, but they're not going to miss anything, I think is their point. They're going to continue to delve into libraries and delete from whatever they can get their hands on tapes and videos that they can exorcise over there. So tip of the hat to the UK secret police for censoring Born in the USA. Nice job, boys.
Well, I think right now,
also the investigation they opened up into Elon Musk, also UK opening a formal investigation into Twitter and X.
Yeah, they're trying to work with Canada and Australia to pinch them out of all 3 countries. But
right.
Also, I don't know if you saw it. I think UK is #1 with a bullet of arrests over social media posts, like above North Korea, above China. Winning.
Not just winning, but I mean all the countries added together They're higher than all of those. Now, you have to begin to change the name to the New People's Republic of the United Kingdom, because that is what they are. They didn't come up with this themselves. This is a country that's under the shadow, bootstraps, and pressure from the People's Republic of China, and they're doing their bidding. A bunch of Brits did not wake up one day and say, why don't we censor every single person in the country? It's just such a jarringly obvious situation, not unlike the Tucker situation, where a guy turns 180 degrees on a dime and everybody's going like, when did that happen? The UK is doing this because they are owned lock, stock, and two smoking barrels by the People's Republic of China. They build nothing, they make nothing, they own nothing. Everything that they have comes from the People's Republic of China, who is controlling that country. Now, we may have to go in and liberate them. We may have to go in and liberate the UK. Forget about Iran.
You heard me. I want to have an exchange program. You know, like everybody's getting arrested for a BS tweet. We take them and then we send one of the libtards over in their place.
That's an interesting take. I would go with that.
I think that would just help both countries in the end. They could have more of their like-minded people, and we could get rid of some of the obnoxious twits here. Speaking of news that's not being covered on the media hardly at all, and it's hard for me to keep up because I'm like, there's some real things going on here. This should be the top story all around, in my opinion, but I don't really see much about it. You've got
somebody on News Nation, a regular host, I forget his name, he used to be on CNN, said, we're going to show you the video of the protest at the college level against the killing of the Iranians here in the United States. Bob, show the video. And he did it completely deadpan. And he says, what do you mean there's no video? And he goes, we made that up. There is no video. And he was really being dead serious. And I went, oh, maybe there is video. I didn't even know. It was the lead into his show. And of course, there's nothing. There's crickets. They will support Chairman Mao. They will support Stalin. They will support Hitler, which they did in 1938 during the aggression pact between Stalin and Hitler here in Hollywood. While the pact was in place, they completely switched from their attacks on Hitler 24/7 because Stalin signed the aggression pact with Hitler, and all of a sudden they endorsed Hitler the next day. The pact didn't last long, so they went back to attacking Hitler a year later. But nevertheless, they switched on a dime. I mean, it's one of the great switcheroos, probably the second greatest, which is not even close, was Obama endorsing gay marriage, and then all his apparatchiks the next morning endorsing gay marriage. But this had higher stakes because this was Marxist, communist-leaning politicos in Hollywood who were attacking fascism, not unlike today, denouncing Hitler, and then the next day supporting Hitler. It's one of the great moments, untold, of course, because they don't tell you this because it was so embarrassing that they don't teach you this in college. But there are plenty of books and articles about it on the support of Hitler by the left, which I love reading.
Well, while we're getting into World War history a little bit, I think we should always defer to a great World War II historian and a broadcaster known as Tucker Carlson here.
Oh my God, what's he into now?
It is wrong for bigger countries to swallow up smaller countries just because they want to. That's why we declared war against Germany when they went into Poland. But weirdly, we did not declare war against the Soviet Union when they did the same thing the same day. But whatever, the point is,
like I said, pay attention to history, Mark. Just because you read textbooks doesn't mean you really know.
Oh my God, dude, it's so off the rails. Of course, the New York Times famously.
Do you know who shared that, though?
What's that?
Do you know who shared that?
I don't know.
The Prime Minister of Poland. No, Tucker Carlson. The U.S. didn't declare war on Germany when Hitler invaded Poland. Likewise, it's Russia that invaded Ukraine, not the other way around. My suggestion: first facts, then opinions.
I can only point out the wonderful New York Times, who on their front page that famous day, the headline was Poland invades Germany. This is something that we would do at National Lampoon, but the New York Times, the paper of record, was suckered by the Third Reich into reporting that Poland had invaded Germany, hence the retaliation by the Third Reich against Poland. Now, that being said, how did they pull that off? They went to a radio station. They shot up and killed a bunch of Poles. They put the dead bodies in German uniforms and posed them as victims of the Polish army. They didn't just say it. They didn't just put out a press release. The Third Reich, not to be denied, actually created a phony incident to trick the New York Times. Now, that being said, the New York Times Berlin correspondent for the New York Times was a Nazi, so it wasn't so difficult. But nevertheless, tip of the hat to the Nazis for tricking the New York Times into believing on the front page of their wonderful paper that the Poles had indeed invaded Germany.
All right, Mark, hey, guess what? We've got a new title. Somebody in the chat gave us. We're anti-Tuckites.
I like that. I like that.
Thank you. Yes, I think that would be fair. I think that would be fair.
I don't think we're alone. I mean, this guy's getting savaged, Eric. I mean, he's getting.
He seems very confident.
He's getting banged from pillar to post in social media. Holy cow!
Well, he's got Grandma Groubert standing by his side, so
she's getting banged from pillar to post on social media.
Yeah, she does. Well, I mean, boy, how is he helping himself when he has his brother on? Because I'm kind of like, okay, you know what? You simplify things for me, because his brother didn't hide things. His brother texts or tweets pretty much like Nick Fuentes, full tilt, no question. So then when Trucker brings him on and platforms to say, okay, so you do share the opinion, because we know he doesn't push back. So, there you go.
That being said, I thought that Trump's response to the New York Times was very weak sauce, that he didn't like anti-Semitism, and then he went into a whole thing about how famous he was as a supporter of Israel. The New York Times asked him 3 times to denounce him, and he just said, we don't like them and we don't need them. I mean, that's not what the question was. He was pussyfooting around this anti-Semitic right-wing Nazi wing of the Republican Party, and he was trying to have it both ways, Eric. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true, and he's done it before, and it's really disgusting.
All right, well, you know what? I'm in a mood today, especially when I see the chat, and it looked like some people in Rumble were like, oh, this is the worst stream ever and all that. So I figure, well, why not double down and have some fun with it? Because one thing I'm tired of hearing about is how AIPAC, the organization, it's a lobbying organization, just like the NRA and many other things, that AIPAC needs to register as a foreign agency. And you sent me this earlier. It's a few minutes, but I think the guy does a really good job of explaining the situation with AIPAC and other organizations, things like that, which will probably trigger some people. I'll watch the view count go here and there. But let's have some fun. Yeah. Here we go.
That did not include the word Israel. The only country we actually discussed was Israel. I actually believe that we should end all foreign aid, but that includes all foreign aid, not only one obsessive country. You mentioned FARA. Let's talk about FARA, the Foreign Agents Registry Act. The Foreign Agent Registry Act is a law imposed by the United States in order to block the access of Nazi Germans to the United States. Qatar currently has 31 registered FARA agents compared to Israel, which has 15. From 2021 to 2025 alone, Qatari FARA agents logged 627 in-person meetings with members of Congress, which is more than every other country by 300 meetings. So let's talk about AIPAC. I don't support AIPAC, largely because they're pretty ineffective. AIPAC is an organization comprised exclusively of Americans, by Americans, and for Americans. You don't have to like them, but that doesn't mean they're an agent of a foreign country. Just like Indian Americans have UNISPAC, the Armenian Americans have ENCA, Greek Americans have HALC, or the Ukrainian American community, which is the UCCA. Americans are free to lobby as they would like. And if you want to make laws against the lobbying of Americans to their government, then fine, let's discuss the policy and legislation. Although, unfortunately, all we've done is obsess over one country. In 2024, it's true, AIPAC is an American lobbying group, just like the NRA or the Chamber of Commerce. They spent roughly $100 million on lobbying and elections. In the same year, China spent half $1 billion. Japan
What?
spent $400 million. Big Pharma, $400 million. Saudi Arabia, $310 million. Qatar, $250 million. But you wouldn't know this because my esteemed opponent is obsessed with only one country and one country only. But what about the fact that Israel controls American foreign policy? Isn't all of our Congress bought and paid for by Israel? If that's true, that somehow Israel controls American foreign policy, then someone clearly needs to explain to me how is it that President Truman forced the Israelis.
Anyway, it goes on for a bit. Now, all of you in the chat, I do find it amusing. Those who are talking about his stance, that he moves, that he talks fast, things like that. It's funny that you're talking about him, his appearance, and whatever, but you're not talking about his words. What is he saying?
Well, if
Those
you
are called ad hominems.
If you could play the rest of that, I think people might get some historical perspective out of it, because he will explain the foreign policy of the United States here for a minute or so.
Sure.
To stop its advances against the Egyptian army in 1948, which actually would have destroyed the Egyptian army unilaterally. President Eisenhower forced the state of Israel to pull back from the Sinai in 1956. President Johnson refused to greenlight a preemptive strike by Israel against the Egyptians in 1967. President Nixon prevented the IDF from crushing the Egyptian Third Army. President Ford forced the Israelis to withdraw from strategic areas under the Sinai II Agreement. President Carter pressured the Israelis to fully withdraw from Sharm el-Sheikh. President Reagan applied pressure to Israelis to withdraw from Beirut. Of course, President Bush, the senior, forbade the Israelis from responding to Saddam's 1991 Scud missile attack. And a point that you failed to address is, if Israel actually controls the United States government, how come that the greatest existential threat to the state of Israel of the last 20 years, the Iranian nuclear deal, JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, of which Bibi Netanyahu, AIPAC, and almost every single Jewish American lobbied their member of Congress against, still passed? So if Israel controls America, they're doing a pretty shitty job. And that brings me to my final point. You had said the only reason America has enemies in the Middle East is because of Israel. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because, as I mentioned, the first war the United States ever fought as a country was against Islamists off the coast of Libya, which was more than 140 years before the creation of the State of Israel, which really brings me to my final point. The problem we have in the United States is not something the Jews or something Israel. The problem.
All right, all of you who are complaining about his speech, look at the clock in the background. Notice it is counting down. He's saying a lot of words. He has to fit them in the clock.
The problem we have in the United States is the rise of radical Islam. In the last 25 years, I am just going to name just a couple of incidents, so indulge me. Nice, France, radical Muslim terrorist. The 2017 Paris attacks, radical Muslim. The reason TSA checks your shoes in airports, radical Muslim. The underwear bomber, radical Muslim. The New Orleans ISIS attack, radical Muslim. Westminster, right. Boston Marathon, Manchester Arena, Pan Am bonding, Fort Hood, Beltway sniper attacks, the list goes on. Bali bombing, Mortarville Rigby, USS Cole bombing, London Bridge attack, Madrid train, Charlie Hebdo, San Bernardino, U.S. Marines, Beirut bombing, Little Rock Army shooting, Chattanooga military attack, Pulse nightclub massacre, New York City ISIS truck attack, Boulder, Colorado firebombing attack, D.C. shooting. Wow. Jews who wear kippahs are not going to blow you up on subway stations, but unfortunately, radical Islamists will. So let's get serious. There have been more than 58,000 Islamic terrorist attacks in almost every country on planet Earth since 9/11. So while we obsess about the only democracy in the Middle East that comprises less than 9 million people, a quarter of whom are Muslim Arabs, the actual Islamists see the weakness of the West, and they're going to take advantage of it. So is there foreign influence in the United States? Absolutely. We have just ganged up on the wrong country.
Wow. I mean, that's a mic drop moment. I don't know what else to say that I could ever add to that. I mean, that is quite an explanation to the psychopaths who have been, denouncing the Jews and the Israelis who, I mean, what an explanation by this guy. I mean, it leads to things, Eric, like Stephen Spencer Pittman, who at the age of 19 down in Mississippi could have become a Major League Baseball player. This kid who went to St. Joseph Catholic School decided to go into what he called the Synagogue of Satan in Jackson, Mississippi this week and burn it to the ground, burning the Torah scrolls, pouring gasoline over everything and torching this synagogue, which was Beth Israel, one of the oldest synagogues in Mississippi, the state itself. And he went home. He was from Madison, Mississippi. I'm not sure where that is. Maybe people in the chat know where Madison is. But this kid who seemed to be a straight edge baseball playing prospect, went home and told his father how proud he was that he had done this. And his father, in horror and injustice, called the FBI immediately on his own kid and had him arrested. But this is the kind, not this guy, but the kind of rhetoric that people promulgate about the Jews leads to these violent episodes against the Jews. I mean, it's that simple. Your free speech leads to the killing and destruction of people surrounded in the Jewish culture.
Well, as long as it's free speech, if it's speech, that's fine. By the way, if his father turned him in, there are those who will use the Tyler Robinson angle that he's just a patsy. Even though, the father turns him in, obviously he's probably still just a patsy.
Well, again, I'm just citing what the reports are talking about. The fact that this kid was radicalized against the Jews and called it. Now, you've pointed out someone else who used the phrase synagogue of Satan before, a diminutive black girl who has repeatedly said the phrase synagogue of Satan. Words have consequences. They say elections have consequences, but words have consequences too.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, that's part of the reason that Trump took a bullet in Butler and barely lived is because of words going for a while about how he was quite literally a World War II figure that followed a guy that yelled a lot, if we go with the Norm Macdonald description. Well,
I not to stay on Trump, but his explanation that Nick Fuentes came with a rapper, Yahweh, or Ye, showed up with Ye is really wearing out. I put on X that Trump said he didn't know Goebbels. He came with this guy Hitler to dinner, but I've never met Goebbels.
Trump did get suckered on that one, I think. Because Milo Yiannopoulos, Kanye West, and Nick Fuentes all came. And Milo, whatever people want to talk about, that dude likes to collect things on other people.
Right.
He's kind of like James O'Keefe, only he's not publishing it. He's just like collecting it. I don't know what he does with all this material, but every time I turn around, it's like, oh, there's some dark stuff about this, dark stuff about that. And I he worked with Marjorie Taylor Greene for a while, very thick as thieves. So it's pretty dirty. And I do think that Trump was like, oh, Kanye West wants to come. He's running for president. He's bringing his campaign manager and advisor. I do think he got suckered on that one a little bit.
He did. He definitely did. But there's a way out of it. And you could speak out and say, fuck these people. But he seems to dance around it.
Yeah. Just like JD, sadly. JD is dancing a little bit too. Well, you know what? While we're in the controversy, somebody else that is not dancing around it, but is like at war right now with elements of MAGA is the legendary Dan Bongino. He was coming back. He's going to have a show,
right? Yeah.
Back on the airwaves. I've heard people claiming that he was sent out to run cover for people. Now you see, there's always something. He couldn't say, "I'm going to do it. I'm done with it. I'm going to go back to my show." It couldn't be that he had health problems, which I've heard, because remember he did have he was diagnosed, I believe, with cancer like 2 years ago, a year ago, something like that. So no, it couldn't be that. It has to be.
Let's say, God forbid, he goes the Scott Adams route in 6 months to a year. Will these people apologize?
No.
Right.
In a word, no. I don't think so, but we'll see what happens. I don't have to defend him. I see him on X, and he is he's slinging just as hard as anybody else. And he doesn't mince words. He went after Matt Gaetz, and then Matt kind of did the what do you mean, bro? Response to it. But I think that Matt Gaetz immediately went to what do you mean, bro? Because, well, let's just say there was an investigation on Matt Gaetz, and it wasn't just in Congress. There was a Justice Department investigation, and odds are pretty good that Dan Bongino has probably seen the entire file of whatever might have occurred with Matt Gaetz. Again, I don't know what it is. It could be all bullshit, could be whatever, but I don't know. I think that whatever there is, Dan Bongino probably knows.
Yeah.
And so let's go to the state level here. We got
Of which
Oregon.
state? Oh, Oregon. Yeah.
And we're getting
Yeah.
another lefty cesspool.
Wow.
Let's see. State moves to address 800,000 inactive voters. How about this?
Yeah,
How about
if
you
you-
just say everybody's voting rights have expired? You got to go in and re-register. Boom. Problem solved.
Well, it's so funny. You talk about pussyfooting. The Secretary of State was just saying this is the normal double checking that we do. Now, the normal double checking that is referring to is the massive amount of lawsuits brought by the Republican National Committee against the state of Oregon that forced their hand to do this. They never cry uncle, Eric. The Marxists never surrender. They simply say, we came up with this idea ourselves, and move on, because they control the megaphone into their own culture in these one-party states. So nobody who lives in Oregon is going to know any different than the fact that their Secretary of State says, I'm doing a great job cleaning out 800,000 dead voter rolls in the state of Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of nice rhetorical tricks they do. Like, one, it's not a problem. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
And then finally, when you get them in, they're like, that's old news.
Right. No,
What are you talking
I
about?
agree. But the remedies are what I have been trying to talk about for the past number of months. How do we remedy this stuff? The remedy for me, again, this is just another harebrained scheme, is you take over NPR and you broadcast Trump-related news 24/7 into the entire countryside, like they did for 30 years. You just don't shut them down. You take it over and flip the script. Begin to put in NPR people from our side. Continue to broadcast on the same radio dials that you've been broadcasting on. And eventually you're going to reach some people that you've never reached before. Not only are you going to negate the message of NPR, you need to physically remove them from the building, cut off their funding, and put in your own people. I know this sounds draconian. However, this is the way it's supposed to be and should be done. Again, this is yet to happen. And I would take, what's her name, out of Arizona and put her in charge of the operation for NPR.
Or
Carrie Lake.
Or as an alternative, like I've said, for the television licenses, there's also radio licenses. Why not rejigger the FCC licenses and say, okay, everybody, licenses are up for bid again. And then we just get different news outlets that
Well,
suddenly have
exactly.
availability.
Exactly. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, when FDR came to power, he reversed the time schedule of the licensing, making it every 6 months. Every 6 months, the heads of the network, and that era was radio, NBC and CBS, had to show up to renew their licenses and explain their situation. I would make it every 6 weeks. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? You have to be physically aggressive and begin to do these things against media, against your enemy that is causing so much grief for the American people. Get fucking aggressive. Do something here on multiple levels, not just pulling licenses, but make the renewals short term. I mean, FDR did it. Well, you don't want to be like FDR, Mark. No, I'd rather just roll over and take it up the ass. You're right.
Well, I mean, the good thing is the public broadcasting company, which includes NPR, is
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
corporation is shutting down anyway. So
Right, but I'm
whatever.
saying, too, we don't have all day for this stuff. You know what I mean? You got to.
Well, that's why I said the licensing thing. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's a quick turnaround that you could immediately have. For example, every single network, you've got ABC, NBC, CBS, right? They're all leftist. Fox News is the only competitor, outdoes all of them, but it's cable. It's technically cable only. It's like, well, why not have that as a network over the air, or something else? I think that'd be great.
There are ways to skin this cat.
Absolutely. So, all right, to shift gears, sadly, another person passed away, and that is Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead. We actually covered the Grateful Dead on the channel, and there's a link in the description if you guys want to watch that episode. I'm sure that you have thoughts about this one, Mark.
Well, Bob, Bob was, I think he was 16 years old when he joined the band up in Palo Alto and met Jerry. And both of them I think Jerry was teaching banjo at the time in a music store. And then later on, not too later after that, they formed a jug band together, which had a long, crazy name to it, then became the Warlocks and eventually the Grateful Dead. But at the beginning, which I talked about in the episode, the lead singer duties were split between Garcia, and I mean from the beginnings of the Dead up until almost the early 70s, they were split three ways between Garcia, Weir, and Pigpen until his demise. And I've taken a lot of heat for that from people saying that Jerry was the lead singer of the band. That wasn't until much later. At the beginning, it was split up among the three of them. And Weir co-wrote a lot of songs that are immortalized, Mexicali Blues, One More Saturday Night. I don't have to go into the long list of Weir's talents. But essential center of the band between Garcia, Lesh, and him. Now all three are gone. I guess John Mayer will have to put together his own crazy outfit of dead people or something, because for me it ended when Jerry died. But for other people, they went and saw the replacement with John Mayer replacing Jerry Garcia, and Weir was at one point even on stage this past summer dropping things, and Mayer was kind of keeping an eye on him. He was kind of like he was already losing some cognitive steps there. But nevertheless, I don't care to remember that part. I care to remember the tons of times that I saw Weir play with them in Roosevelt Stadium in New Jersey, which was a constant venue, RFK Stadium in Washington, Madison Square Garden in New York, Nassau Coliseum. I saw Weir in a lot of venues, and he was always professional. And like we said, Eric and I were talking about it, the greatest money-making touring band in American music history, not through album sales, but they saw the handwriting on the wall that this was the future of music, was touring and not record sales. And they were way ahead of their time, building the wall of sound with Owsley and putting together this transportable concert sound speaker system that took multiple semi-tractor trailers to pull from venue to venue and working it like a professional army, taking it apart and putting it back together city by city. It was an amazing thing to watch. The creation of the Dead sound system was one part of their revolutionary success. And the other part was being on the road 24/7 and working the country and bringing in every year, if you looked at Variety, the highest revenue of any band in the country. And they were ridiculed for this. They made masterpiece albums like Working Man's Dead in the studio, and some of the other albums that they made, but they were essentially a live band, and they made revenue from that live band that supported a family of people. Hundreds of people lived off of them. The people making the swag, the people making memorabilia, the people living back in around San Francisco who were part of the operation. It was definitely, and I say family, I don't mean blood. I mean just people who were in their circle.
Well, they've been brought up a lot of times, whoever makes fun of them, but in terms of shall we say the marketing world and things like that, they always come up and are compared to or contrasted with Harley Davidson back in the heyday. I mean, Harley Davidson has screwed their legacy over. I'm not going to go into it, but I'm talking about several years ago that they sold a lifestyle that people identified themselves as deadheads. That was a thing that nobody else had done. And, like even Taylor Swift, is the biggest act out there right now, probably is trying to emulate it with, her Swifties and things of that sort. So very ahead of the time, did not depend on album sales. Hell, everybody could buy it, connect to the board and get an album for free. Bootlegs were rampant with the band, and it didn't matter because everybody would show up. They would follow the band around the country, pay every single time. They would buy every T-shirt that they had, every single merchandise. Not only that, people in the parking lot were making their own versions that people were buying. Incredible. It's like a circus moving around or something.
To have a taper section right next to the mixing board, it was, nobody never allowed that before. And Jerry Garcia famously said, at least I have recordings of the shows. They did a different show every night. And Jerry, to his credit, was not materialistic about preventing it from happening. The reason it's prevented is for album sales. They didn't care about that, so they didn't care about tapers. The tapers had some of the greatest recording equipment ever devised. I mean, these boom mics that they created were so inventively insane. When you went to the Dead concerts and saw the tapers section, that where they were allowed by the Dead to record, it was the best section in the house for sound, and it was usually right next to the mixing board. So I mean, that's kind of where they wanted to be anyway. But the taping set, I have so many bootlegs, Dead bootlegs, that so do a lot of other people. But that's really the collection where the fun is on, in terms of like non-album sales. It's really the bootleg collection that has replaced album sales with this particular organization.
Sure, and they had undying loyalty of those people distributing those bootlegs and others listening to them. So
yeah,
I mean, it definitely worked. All right, well, speaking of walls of sound in a completely different direction, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a guard of in Venezuela who came out and was talking about how using some sort of, the U.S. was using some sort of sound audio mechanism that just was bringing everybody to their knees. They couldn't handle anything.
Wow.
And there was like I think it was 20 to 40 soldiers, literally just marching through with like perfect accuracy, going boom, 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 just taking everybody out. And it came across
with the sound device, or
well, the sound device is like knocking them down, and then they were just being picked off left and right. So they potentially had hundreds, and it was a squad, not a squad, probably a platoon's worth of people going in there and just walking right in while people were down on their knees.
That's scary.
It makes me think of Havana syndrome, and I can't help but wonder if that wasn't a little bit of the testing that was happening. But I didn't know if you had heard that, no pun intended, about the sound weapon that.
Well, we've had this out. We've seen it demonstrated. There's plenty of videos of us using it on crowds. Crowds testing it. I don't think we've used it domestically on crowds here, but I think that's what they're referring to. It's on the back of a truck, and it looks a little unwieldy, but you have to bring it to the battlefield, I think.
Yeah, and I mean,
it has to be somewhere. You have to get it on the back of a truck from the one that remembers seeing it about 10 years ago.
Well, that's what you've seen. I don't know what advances they've made. Who knows? Maybe if it's in a backpack now, or I don't know.
You're
what
right. You're right.
Ability is, but they were very, very, very effective with it. Apparently, words getting out all around Central and South America between the different countries, though, that they're really worried about it. Like Colombia, they're like, "Oh shit, we don't want to deal with that." So it's a good thing too for the psychological effect that it had and the reputation, which can help later on in negotiations.
Absolutely. Did you read the word salad by this insane woman who is supposedly a Supreme Court justice? In this current thing about the trans issue in schools.
Yeah, okay. I haven't gotten to it yet. It looked like Roberts asked the ACLU lawyer, "What is a woman?" and it got flummoxed again. But I didn't get a chance to break it down for me.
I got to find this thing. It was just so crazy. And let me see if I could find this thing. Okay, I just have to read what she said to the lawyers for the government, and then it's almost like some spoken word piece. This is from Justice Ketanji Jackson in his Defending Men and Women's Sports with an utter word salad today at the Supreme Court. Is treating someone, these are the actual words, is treating someone transgender but does not have, because of the medical interventions and the things that have been done, who does not have treat to physical competition and safety and all the reasons the state puts forward, that's actually a different class, says this individual. So you're not treating the class the same, and how do you respond to that? Idaho Attorney General Hearst didn't even seem to understand what she asked. And
I don't understand it. I'm already lost.
No, there's no logic to any of it. And then Gorsuch stepped in to save the court. and took over the conversation. Okay, the woman is mentally retarded. She has the IQ of 89. She can't be allowed to be, she could barely speak. Nobody knows what she's saying. This has happened repeatedly in these arguments, and others, including on the conservative side, have covered for her as institutionalists to save the embarrassment of the court, as if you've got this retarded stepchild at Thanksgiving dinner that you don't want exposed to everybody else. Holy crap, this is not the first time this has happened with her. No one knows what she's saying.
Okay, so one thing, when she was confirmed by the Senate, she couldn't address what a woman was to begin with. So already history there.
Yeah.
Two, I'm going to always ask this: over under, who is dumber, her or Mimi Hirono?
Boy, that's a tough question. I don't know. They're in two different.
I'm trying
they're
to
in
find
two
the
different
bottom.
leagues. They're in two different leagues, but they obviously went to the similar University of Word Salad in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Okay, well, like I said, I this is I'm trying to
I'd
find
like
the
to see
bottom.
this.
The
I
depths.
want to see the whole thing in a transcript and just read it, in a performance of spoken word. Holy cow!
Wow, amazing.
Wow. By the way, speaking of court situations, did you see the letter that Hillary and Bill Clinton wrote to the Department of Justice about
No,
why
tell
they're
me
not?
more. Tell me more.
I don't know what to say. They are apparently saying that they are above the law and that the Department of Justice has been weaponized and they are not going to respond to the subpoenas. I don't know. I mean, they went into some long word salad about the Trump administration weaponizing justice and blah, blah, blah as their answer for the fact that they're not going to show up.
All right, well, let's see how I guess Comer and gang are responding here to that. Let's see.
I think everyone knows by now Bill Clinton did not show up. And I think it's important to note that this subpoena was voted on in a bipartisan manner by this committee. This wasn't something that I just issued as chairman of the committee. This was voted on by the entire committee in a unanimous vote of the House Oversight Committee to subpoena former President Clinton and
I didn't know it was
Secretary of State
unanimous.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Now, Hillary Clinton's supposed to show up tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. But with
I saw
respect
Luna
to the
last night.
former president, he did not show up today.
Nope.
One reason I think most Americans want President Clinton to answer some questions is because he visited the White House. Jeffrey Epstein visited the White House 17 times while Bill Clinton was president.
Wow.
I've been in Congress 9 years. I think I've been to the White House 9 times in 9 years.
Wow.
Epstein was in the White House double the amount of time that I was under one president. And then we know that Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane somewhere around 27 times.
Wow.
After the presidency.
27 times,
so no one's
Eric.
accusing Bill Clinton of any wrongdoing.
No, I don't think you have to.
And that's why the Democrats voted along with Republicans to subpoena Bill Clinton. Not a single Democrat showed up today. Not a single Democrat. The ones that
Where are
press
they? They just
conferences on the
disappear?
Capitol steps and talk about how they're trying to get justice for the victims and all that. It just seems like they only care about questioning Republicans. And we've had a former Trump cabinet secretary, Acosta, in for a grilling. We had Bill Barr, former attorney general, in for a grilling. But for whatever reason, President Clinton didn't show up, and the Democrats on the committee don't seem to have a problem. This is the amount of
I wouldn't hold up binders, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, forget about the binders. That's not a good look. But nevertheless, the message is good that it was bipartisan, Eric.
Yeah, well, I did not know there was a unanimous vote. That's a significant thing for me. And by the way,
what's the move now? I don't understand. It's kind of cut and dry. I mean,
abandon.
Ask Peter Navarro about it. Ask Steve Bannon about it. Are these people above the law?
Well, you've got to actually get the Justice Department to actually prosecute them. So let's see how that goes. I mean, we've got a little bit of a backlog from the, we'll call it the Bondi backlog of people not getting charged or investigated or what have you. So, by the way, somebody corrected me. It's Maisie Hirano. I apologize, not Mamie Hirano.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. So thank you, folks. But yeah,
I don't know how you get around this because You either honor the subpoena or you don't. I mean, obviously, you could show up and take the Fifth Amendment, which is your right to do that, or you could say,
Yeah.
"I'm sick. I'm having a pancreas removed." There's medical things you could pull for a while, but they didn't do that. The letter is quite demonstrative. It is a professional fuck you. It says we're not going to honor this corrupt Department of Justice. Okay, I guess that's your right.
Sounds a
I
lot
guess
like
that-
Hillary's "What does it even matter?" Remember that?
I think that they've crossed the Rubicon at this point. I don't know how you go back on this one.
Yeah, no, totally agree on that. All right, let's change gears. We've got this kind of a really gross case going on. Melissa Gilbert's husband, who
Oh boy,
West Wing actor, Emmy Award-winning actor,
Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner
Field of
and Amy
Dreams.
Madigan. Oh my God, Timothy
I
Busfield.
think he's directed several things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
No, she's from Little House on the Prairie, by the way, as most of the women watching this show are well aware.
Right.
She's issued a video on TikTok trying to soften the blow. Her husband's on the run. He's a very famous man.
apparently, he
And-
turned himself in.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
It
They issued a
says-
warrant, U.S. Marshals out of New Mexico. I guess he's
surrendered.
turned himself in. She put out a video this morning saying, I support my husband. Is that the mugshot?
I believe
Or-
so.
Because 30 years ago, he paid out $150,000 in a suit against him by the law firm. A law firm representing a girl that was allegedly molested by him. He sued the law firm for creating this. It's as bizarre as this sounds. This was 30 years ago. He sued the law firm for creating this story out of whole cloth, like a law firm just going to hire themselves and come up with a story. The judge in the case said, "You're out of your mind," and ordered him to pay the law firm and the plaintiff $150,000 and settle the case out of court for an undisclosed amount of money for the molestation of that girl back in the day, 30 years ago. Who knows how many people this guy has damaged?
Yeah, and what is it? There was a video you shared earlier. There's some questions whether that was AI. Actually,
Yeah, that I don't know. But the point of the matter is, Melissa Gilbert. These are not obscure people in Hollywood.
No.
These are the leaders of Hollywood. Timothy Busfield and Melissa Gilbert. Melissa Gilbert, for many years, was the president of the Screen Actors Guild. She is not a minor figure in Hollywood. She also has her own mental issues, her own derangement syndromes, her own situations of what happened to her. The people who are here are damaged people who happen to have a lot of money. That's why the psychosis continues. It's the amount of money plus damaged people that then their assistants or the people around them get them linked to these social causes and drain some of their money and put them out there as puppeteers to promote these causes. A lot of times you'll see them at the awards, which they will then promote causes at these awards dinners. They've been taken over by various groups, usually through the people around them, and then it spreads out from there. It may start as an assistant because they're clueless. They're busy with their careers. They don't know what to read or do anything. But Melissa Gilbert has been particularly toxic verbally for many, many years, denouncing Trump and others. And you talk about karma. Holy crap. And just to get back to Melissa Gilbert, she was a groomer in this particular case. She would bring gifts to the children to get them to call her husband Uncle Timmy. These were not gifts after it happened to shut them up, as some outlets have alleged. She brought them gifts like a groomer and brought them into the fold to her husband, who was allegedly the person committing the sex crimes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's worse than you thought.
It's bad. And I think I saw something that she had problems when she was a kid too.
Yeah. Oh,
potentially.
yeah. She
Yeah.
recently came out with a memoir, and talked about her situation, her problems as a kid. So
Yeah.
keep your eyes open for that, and maybe a new memoir.
Yeah, and then there is that whole weird thing of girls sometimes marrying their fathers or marrying the people in their lives. I don't know, what her status actually was, but very, very sad. Let me see. All right, so jumping back to Iran a little bit, it looks like the admin is weighing attacks on Iran right now.
Yeah.
And
I think he's going to do surgical missile strikes into, I don't know, this is
or
just my
drones,
hunch.
maybe drones.
Yeah, drones or surgical missile strikes. Again, I know these people are crazy about boots on the ground. I know these people, are obsessed with it. It's not going to happen under this president. I just can't keep saying it. But I guess each time we supposedly went to World War III after the nuclear attack on Iran, then World War III never happened. And I guess the Gaza-Israeli war was World War III, and that never happened. This is the wishful thinking side of America First and their projections, along with the Max Blumenthal's on the other side, the other crazy side, Eric, who believe we're the colonizers of the earth and, just crushing and taking over countries all over the world.
Speaking of America First, because I don't even I prefer MAGA. For obvious reasons, because of the Lindbergh connotation with America First, the original America First. I saw somewhere, I wish I saved it, that Trump actually didn't know about the original America First, and that the
very few people do. I mean, nobody knows about it. We talked about it here a couple of months ago. But when I'm saying America First, they call themselves America First. I pointed out the irony of the original America First, led by Charles Lindbergh, who became endorsers and backers of the Third Reich until Roosevelt declared war on the Third Reich. Up until that day, they were in bed with the Third Reich and supporting them and supporting the fascist regime in Germany. That's how far isolationism and obviously America First. But the irony was the name. And I don't think anybody knew history enough among the current America First. They're saying we're not MAGA. They're actually saying we want to be referred to as America First and not MAGA, which is better for me because I don't have to explain that it's a bizarre right-wing offshoot of MAGA. By calling it America First makes it more easy and available for me to talk about.
Well, you know who the main figure of modern America First is? It literally is a show, literally as a badge every time you see it. Nick Fuentes.
Right, but the original host of the show was Pat Buchanan. He was the original leader, and he's the spiritual godfather to Tucker Carlson that nobody realizes. Tucker Carlson worshipped at the altar of America First's leader, who was Pat Buchanan. And that's where this comes from. The reason he denounced Trump so harshly and secretly during those emails and text messages when he was involved with Fox was because he thought we were going to go down that Patrick Buchanan road, which he has picked up the mantle to lead his group to. He was pushed back because of Trump embraced MAGA as a phony shroud of Turin that he put on to weather the MAGA era. And he's starting to take off that cape and reveal that he's really a Patrick Buchanan-ite. And Trump has famously said, I think in the 90s, that Patrick Buchanan may have been part of the Third Reich when he was much funnier back then and not in politics, Trump, and regarding Pat Buchanan. He made some really humorous statements about him.
Well, I was going to say, to be fair and to his credit, Nick Fuentes absolutely claims the Lindbergh Association.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't hide the ball.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing you can kind of appreciate about the guy.
He claims everything. I mean, he's not hiding the ball on anything.
No.
I mean, but like I said to you during the week, the more platforms you're allowed on, the more you can eliminate the levels of diatribe that were insane that got you there. And the more conservative you get as you move up these ladders of power and ladders of media power, you become more assimilated into the world itself.
Yeah. Let me see. I have not had time to look this over more, but I don't know if you saw, I mentioned James O'Keefe earlier. He's got another video out, and this is some pretty bad stuff here.
Oh, I
We've
don't
got
know.
a Secret Service agent out on a date. Let's see what's going on.
Oh my God.
Badge again with your photo. You're so cute.
A current Secret Service agent on Vice President J.D. Vance's security detail.
When he's like walking, like, where are you?
Follow him. We'll have a lease. I'm in the head and
gives away vital high-level security information to our undercover journalists.
we have different shifts. We have shift.
Oh my God.
Tells her about detailed future travel plans for the Vice
Oh my
President,
God.
and even sends her pictures with location metadata revealing where the president's convoy was
Oh my
located,
God.
potentially violating both the Secret Service NDA and United States federal law.
Oh my
Tomas is
God.
fully aware of this.
I wonder what could go wrong. So everybody check out James O'Keefe's latest video. As you can see,
Oh my God. It's
That's
breathtaking. I mean, the amount of incredible incompetence is breathtaking. I never, it's astounding. It's absolutely astounding. I don't know if it's the pervasiveness of weed or drinking or just absolute fucking illiteracy. But again, like we said last week, that Democratic tranny breaking into J.D. Vance's house and trashing it in Cincinnati, an unprotected house. What planet is this possible in this day and age? What? And then no repercussions. We hear nothing about it.
no, same guy here, by the way. So you can see that Vance's detail might have some holes in it. And
Really?
I'm going to push and say a lot of this goes back again to DEI. You get these
Yeah.
people in
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and then who are they going to hire? They're going to hire like-minded people
Yeah.
who are not necessarily qualified. I mean,
Yeah. First of
Yeah.
all, the people under the Kennedy administration were busy drinking all the time. They were busy hunkered down wherever Kennedy was. If you read a lot of Vince's books, not just getting away from the physical killing of Kennedy for a second, their lifestyles were simply, we don't have time to even go out to a club. They had to bring beer into some shack or the back room of a place where Kennedy was staying, just so they could have beer on site to drink on off hours. These guys are out clubbing. I mean, it's just shocking to see it. You know, like what, you're constantly on call, Eric, as you're well aware. You can't just be pulled out of a nightclub after having 10 daiquiris. And although that did happen under Kennedy,
sure.
which
But
is
that's
one
why
of the-
it's frowned upon, because it
Right.
didn't really happen a lot after Kennedy. I mean, I don't think Reagan's detail, they were like pulling them out of the bars, were they?
No, in fact, the next time something happened was in, I believe, Bogota, Colombia, under Obama, when they were out partying in strip clubs all night, and they sent back like 10 of them to the United States overnight on a plane.
Well, there were a whole lot of things under Obama, and then just continuing on. I mean, we got them fighting each other. We got,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it is I guess a technical term would be shit show.
yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. While we're on that, turns out that a Biden HR official vouched for that National Guard shooter, saying he posed no threat to national security.
Oh wow, that's weird. Does she look like a mannequin or something? What is with that look she's got going on? That gaunt, crazy look. She looks like some scarecrow.
The lights went on.
The lights went on. Oh my God. What a freaky looking chick.
Well, it's
That's
a
not a
good old New York
flattering
governor.
photo. Yeah.
Nope. All right, let me see. Oh, by the way, I saw there were some condolences about your team losing.
Or the
over
Packers.
weekend. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was a messy game. Let me just put it that way. I don't know what was going on, but the coach has to go. I mean, there was just so many bizarre moves. It was just a fucking shit show.
Well, apparently another coach went. Mike Tomlin has been.
Yeah, Tomlinson
separated.
is gone. He had to go. Aaron Rodgers has to retire. I think there's 8 coaches that are going to be fired or have been fired. The Harbaughs. I mean, they're just cleaning house. I mean, the DEI aspects of the NFL have caused incredible chaos. They got rid of the chains to mark the down markers. They're now using computer-generated line markers to spot the football. Holy crap, this league is out of control. absolutely out of control. The guy's knee goes down. They spot the ball 17 miles away. This is on all the games. I wasn't just talking about the Packer game. I mean, all of these games are dysfunctional. The whole league has lost its mind.
But good. Maybe just reset and rejigger everything. It'd be kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah. But it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch Aaron Rodgers yesterday. I was very sad that he got the living shit beaten out of him. His offensive line couldn't hold back these savage, gigantic Houston Titan maniacs who just kept killing him. It was hard to watch. I hope he never comes back on the field again.
I'm sure he'll find another gig somewhere.
No, I don't think. I think Aaron's done. I think Aaron's
No, I
done.
mean another gig, like broadcasting.
Oh yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah.
He's very colorful. I'd love to see him. I mean, he's better than some of the guys they are using, right? The Troy Aikens and what's his face from New England. He's much more colorful than them. I'd like to see him do some commentary,
like a Boomer Esiason type or something.
Yeah, a lot of those guys are very boring. He's very colorful, Aaron.
Oh, good.
Well, speaking about recordings, did you see this thing by Jerome Powell, the video of him attacking? What do you make of that?
Oh, he's trying to get in front of the story and frame it. I mean, it is like he's in trouble. Yeah. Obviously, there's something there. So he's reframing it immediately to attack Trump. And it's not only to get the Democrats. He's really trying to recruit the masses and the Rand Pauls of the world too.
Which is not so hard.
The irony is though that Ron Paul, who's Rand Paul's guidance, his father, hates the Fed. So I don't know who Powell is thinking he's going to get, because there's a lot of people who, they're very critical of Trump and they're saying but the Fed needs to go. So I'm kind of confused on where it's going to go, but it just seemed desperate to me.
It seemed very desperate. He took his glasses off. He had makeup on. He had professional lighting. Obviously, this was in the works for quite a while. And apparently there's corruption issues that Trump has pointed out about his construction or reconstruction of the Fed building. This is where it stems from. Obviously, Trump hates his guts and and considers him an incompetent boob. But more than that, there seems to be smoke and fire, Eric.
Right. And the problem that he's facing, I forgot who broke it down. It might have been Dan or Sean or one of them. But anyway, it's Trump can fire him for cause.
For cause, right.
For cause is a lower threshold than actually being convicted of anything. Trump can say, you're a distraction. This is a cause. So whatever happens, I think it's Lisa Cook right now, who Trump tried to fire, and that's going in front of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
That's going to be the determinant. If Cook is gone and the Supreme Court says, no problem, then Powell's gone too.
Well, I wish our followers in North Carolina will explain Tom Tillis to me, because I don't understand who this guy is and why he's threatening Trump. This guy's got to go. I mean, Tillis, this is not the first time, Eric. I mean, is he retiring or what's this?
He is.
Oh, I got it. Right. Okay.
So he's
what
getting
a
his
piece of shit.
Well, and Tom Tillis, I think, is one of the people that profited on Pfizer from COVID. If I recall, he was one of those.
Go after the guy. Look at his taxes. Let's get something on this guy. Don't let him go out riding on a white horse. So go after this fucking guy. Where's he going to go? He's going to join Pfizer after this?
What was it? Josh Hawley surprised me.
Yeah, no, he's in. Nobody's in bed more with social media companies than Josh Hawley out of on the Republican side up in Palo Alto. Yeah. Josh Hawley is up to his neck in social media companies. But speaking of social media companies, there's two guys who are fleeing California right now on foot, taking their billions of dollars with them, and that's Larry Page and Sergey Brin.
Sergey Brin, yeah.
Sergey Brin, who are fleeing ahead of the billionaires' socialist tax that Newsom is levying against billionaires. Now these people may be hunted down by the police under Newsom to get their money.
Good luck.
What's that?
Good luck.
Well, they passed legislation in California that even if you move to another state, they can come after you for taxation. So this may cover, unfortunately, Larry Page and Sergio Brin, who may flee but be taxed by California regardless, saying you made your money here while you were here. This is going to be an interesting case.
Yeah, but that'll be a retroactive. I mean, they've been paying tax every damn year. You can't just suddenly say, well, in my opinion, and it probably goes to the Supreme Court, but I don't think you could say, oh, you know what? We're changing the tax code, Mark. So I know that you paid X amount last year and the year before and the year before that, but 5 years ago you made a ton of money. And we really should have taxed you more.
They're not doing that. They're just saying you can't just move out and have us not come after you in the future.
Well, if you move out before it hits,
they've actually said that doesn't matter. They're still going to come after you.
Yeah, well, I think the Constitution will probably side with Sergey Brin.
Good luck on that. I guess he'll have to fight for years.
Well, go ahead and extradite him.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's like, go ahead.
By the way, it started with millionaires. They have now escalated to billionaires. But this is not the first assault. It doesn't matter to the state of California what you're taking in. They've passed legislation saying even if you move, we can come after you for future earnings. I swear, it's insane. It's insane.
Which is so obviously ludicrous. But okay, I mean, that's fine. And by the way, what a brilliant move. Let's pass a law to make sure that all of our money is running from the state. So then they have to lower it. Eventually, they're going to be going after 100,000-aires and saying,
that's why they
too much money there.
That's why they passed that law first, of the 100,000-aires who fled the state earlier. Those guys who moved to Arizona no, they're desperate now. It's every man for himself to get money at this point. They are trying any trick of the trade to get money now. Because think about it. How do you support a 40 million person socialist nation without taking the tax revenues have plummeted? He's now projecting future AI related earnings for the state of California to imaginatively balance the budget that's $32 billion.
Hold on, that goes perfectly because AI has a problem called hallucinations.
Yeah,
I would say that's what he has, is a hallucination. It's like, oh well, there's probably going to be this money and probably this and that.
They've done this before. They've come up short before, and they keep doing it. They keep projecting these imaginary things are going to happen. And in other words, tax revenue on property didn't appear to be the exact number that they projected, because legally in California, you have to have a balanced budget every year by the Constitution of California. So they come up with these imagination-based things to propose that it's going to be, income from X next year.
Well, there you go, Mark. So you can say, well, we're taxing all the people that fled and don't even live here anymore. I can only imagine what's going to happen if Katie Porter gets in. You think that Newsom's bad. She's going to be coming from the left, and she's a viper from what I've seen.
She's a viper. I mean, well, speaking of vipers, this guy, the AG in Minnesota, Ellison, apparently has recorded himself, or there are recordings of him that are in the possession of the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, who says that he is taking bribes from the Somali community not to investigate them. And Bessent says he's got the audio tapes, Eric.
Good.
Dude, I mean, this might be the greatest, post-Christmas present of all time. This blabbermouth former spokesperson for the racist, anti-Semitic Farrakhan at the Nation of Islam may have put his foot in his mouth on these recordings.
Good. I mean, they get cocky, and I'm happy to see that. All right, I'm going to shift gears completely. This is getting a little catty or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it, but Elon Musk is on board. He's going to fund the Republicans, and former conservative, and I'm going to put scare quotes because I don't think she ever really was, is helping ensure that Elon Musk stays on board. Ashley St. Clair is making some comments about transgenderism, and now Elon Musk is filing for full custody of the new child because he interpreted it. She essentially said that she could turn that kid into trans. And
great.
That's what flipped Elon Musk. Remember, he's got a child.
Yeah.
Who's trans, and that pivoted him completely the other side. So thank you very much. She is I think, proven grifter, in my opinion. When you have her texting people saying, I'm going to get pregnant by him, and, ahead of time, and well, go figure. And so now, by the way, you've heard about the controversy with Grok, right? That Grok was churning out explicit images of real people, including teenagers. So Ashley St. Clair saying, oh, they're still turning out, sexualized pictures of me. Grok is doing it. So that's her doubling down. So there's a war on that. Somebody in the chat said Smashly. Yes, thank you very much. Smashly St. Clair.
Well, there's a case in New York about transgender surgery, which may blow the entire medical transgender surgery industry out of the water. So we have to keep an eye on that case in New York, civil case. And then, so that goes hand in hand with what Eric was just saying. Also, Musk put out a thing about a post, or he retweeted a post on X about the number of people arrested under the Republican administration versus the number of people arrested under the Democratic administration, and it looked a little lopsided. I don't know. It seems to be there might be more on one side than the other, Eric.
One question: how many of them were January 6th and versus the rest of it? Because that is
I don't know. I didn't analyze every single name, so I didn't really get in the weeds about the names. I just thought that the 0 on the other side of the scoreboard was the main part of the story. There seemed to be like 500 names on one side and 0 on the other side, which is what Musk was tweeting about. I think.
Well, Trump, it's your girl at the DOJ. You're gonna have to do something or not. I mean,
well, one girl they arrested was the building manager up in Washington State, who apparently took the absentee ballots and voted for the candidates of her choice. Esperanza Contreras is under arrest for 12 felony charges. She took the absentee ballots of former tenants who she knew didn't live there any longer, opened them up and fraudulently mailed them in to vote for the candidates of her choice repeatedly with the absentee ballots. This is part of what I call a personal voting jihad. And the Democrats are well aware of this. People are doing a lot of this stuff on their own, like their own personal jihad. In other words, she wasn't part of a ring. This is something that many of these people, because of the media that they watch, will take on these causes individually, not unlike the personal jihads we see around the world by Islamic.
You mean they hear the dog whistles and they act?
Right, but I'm saying they hear the dog whistles and they act independently, and they're not part of an overall ring in the voting situation, which I think we're beginning to see independent people doing this voter fraud on their own. And then when they're caught, the DNC could say, that's one person, throw the book at her. We don't know anything about her. And they'll be correct. They'll be correct about that. I mean, Esperanza Contreras did this on her own, from what I gather. Now, there are organized rings. I just don't think she was part of an organized ring. This is low-hanging fruit for the feds up in Washington State.
Yeah, makes sense. We've got a lot of crazy stories, sad stories, everything else. Have a feel-good story. And this kind of goes with the CBS News new format. You were talking about it. This was on CBS News, and I thought it was a pretty good story. Hopefully it retains in the video. If it's gone, it's because something, monetization or whatever. So,
boy, in the Hoosier State, how memes about a busted pickup truck drove one community to help a man when he needed it most. Here's Steve Hartman on the road.
Whose car?
Oh, he only had 22,000. I mean, a few years old. But look what it was replacing. I actually appreciate
that car. I thought that was the
story. Oh, well, that would have been the true miracle.
I thought he was taking it on as like a celebrity challenge to renovate that vehicle. I didn't know he was going to buy a used car. Dude, I'm completely blindsided by this story.
All right, well, that would have been a hell of a trick. But anyway, I just like, it's nice to have a happy damn story.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. Not as happy as Alec Baldwin, who's having the most difficult time of his life, Eric, trying to sell his Hamptons mansion now.
Right.
He reduced it by another $1 million this week And yet there's still no takers, Eric. Who weeps for Baldwin?
It's a tough market. You know what? The biggest irony is
Right.
Baldwin should be cheering Trump harder than anybody who's trying to get the mortgage rates down, so maybe somebody could afford to buy his
that's a
estate.
good point.
Could you
That's good.
imagine that Trump getting them down could help him sell his home? Now, how could he handle that? That it would be like,
If you
you'd
get rid
have
of
to
Jerome
credit
Powell,
Trump.
this might happen. I mean, Baldwin should be demanding that Powell be ousted immediately. Now, that being said, and the guy with the minivan is going to have to find this out the easy way now. Gas prices nationally are now down to average $2.79 a gallon. And that's the lowest since 2021. For people.
Let me see. What's in common here? I'm trying to think. There's something there, some parallel.
Something happened.
I'll get back to you. If I figure it out.
Does anybody remember? I got to look this up. How quickly food prices jumped when Biden became president? Because I vaguely remember it was within the same month.
I feel like beef immediately was
people. If people in the chat or in the comment section could tell me if they remember the first month of Biden in office, how much food prices jumped. Because I kind of remember going, "Holy crap, that was quick!" I mean, literally overnight, everything doubled in price. And I may be having a faulty memory. Maybe it took a longer amount of time.
Because he immediately did a bunch of regulations to speed up the transportation, because it wasn't just that, the fuel, and then the truckers were suddenly getting hammered. Oh, and then I think he put into effect some things like they couldn't drive as long every day. So there was a bunch
of immediate things that immediately caused the food to skyrocket, if I recall. I'm just wondering how fast it happened, because it seems like it was the same month that he took the oath of office, or maybe into February a little bit.
No, it was really early. I mean, he didn't do much after that, so he had
I just bought a dozen eggs. It was $3.09. So obviously, prices of many things are coming back to earth.
Yeah, I get an 18 pack for like $3.
Yeah, I bought an 18 pack for $3.20 or something a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy with that. It's fine, but. While we're talking about finances and things like that, let's look at our super chats. We have
weird.
Anthony Madison from Australia. He changed up slightly.
Oh, weird.
He said it's Trump's fault.
Oh,
so it's a question
not a state. He's confused. Now he doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I understand he's softening in his stance, which I can appreciate. Rhett MP Sargent. Mark, I can't believe you didn't mention the passing of Bob Ware.
Neither do I. I can't really believe it, but we're going to get to it eventually.
It was early, obviously, in the show that came in, but, whatever. Diffuse gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you, Tractor Guy. Coming through in the clutch, always. I appreciate that very much. K-Dog 4703. Great show, fellas. Bongino has to earn his trust back.
I don't distrust him. Why would I distrust the guy? What did he do to you? I don't understand. I mean, look, I wasn't a huge fan to begin with, but I don't understand. Did he go to the FBI and have a scandal?
It was because when he went to the FBI, he went and said, I saw the tapes. Epstein absolutely self-deleted. There's no question. Then when they released the footage, there was a minute missing. There was just a ton of problems.
But is that on him as opposed to Kash Patel and Bongino?
Well, they both sat there side by side saying it was perfect. It was perfect. It was so that it did cause him some credibility issues.
Okay, but what about the rest of them? What about the other people then?
Well, yeah, these same people don't like Kash Patel either.
Or who do they like? Do they like Trump? Because Trump said he self-deleted himself.
Occasionally.
Okay. I don't know. It's a little confusing who they like and who they don't like in this parallel Twilight world.
No, there are influences around us who are pushing different ways and whatever.
Oh, influencers. Now you're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
All right, Tractor Guy Diffuse here. Mark, Eric, thanks for all you do. Tractor Guy, he's been a member for 22 months, almost 2 years.
Just want to mention the celebrity takeover of TV ads and how they have eliminated working class actors from these ads. This is something that has been building for a while in my craw. You now have mega celebrities doing even telephone subscription ads for phones, AT&T, Verizon, and everybody giggles at it. But all of that income has now been taken away from middle-class working actors who used to do these ads for decades and decades, because celebrities are now in need of money. And they would have scoffed at this years ago. And they're now taking the money out of the mouths of these middle-class actors and just telling them to go fuck themselves. I can't believe the level of celebrities now doing ads that were traditionally done by regular people.
Did that start with like Matthew McConaughey doing like the Lincoln ads? With
No,
saying
he's
Mary
just
got
one
the
of
Oscar?
them. No.
No, I was just
that's
saying
part of it.
yeah,
That's definitely part of it. But it's now gone into phones. It's gone into McDonald's. It's gone into every single area that used to be done by non-celebrity working class actors who could live on these residuals for the rest of their lives.
Well, Mark, don't worry, it won't last long, because AI is replacing the celebrities unless they can legislate it out. AI starting to come in the commercials, and I'm seeing signs of it. There have been multiple commercials. What do you want to bet there's going to be at least one AI commercial in the Super Bowl, maybe more?
I think there already was one, but
I think there was too. Yeah,
they already had that last year, but I don't think they're going to AI Mark Ruffalo.
No, but they can AI an actor, and they can create AI.
Right? They don't. But they want the celebrity status. They've been begging these celebrities for decades to do this, and they've been turned down for decades. The celebrities' incredible greed for money to keep their lifestyles afloat has now led them to accept, thereby boxing out regular actors who lived off of these residuals for decades.
No, I understand that, and I agree. I'm just saying that it's not going to last long, because they're going to get boxed out too, I think, in the end.
Okay, well, that's
a lot of the companies are probably going to find that the payback from the celebrities isn't as high as it might.
Well, the jury's still out on that. I'm just pointing out this new phenomenon. I don't know what's going to happen down the road, but this new phenomenon has these celebrities selling the most mundane products on earth. And at first I was startled, like the McConaughey thing, but there's so many of them now, Eric.
Now there are exceptions, like Ryan Reynolds doing Mint Mobile when he owns the company. That's a little different.
Who cares about that? Right. Yeah.
No, I respect that. It's like, okay, rather than, doing something else, own your own company and be a spokesperson. Okay, that's fine. William Shatner was probably one of the first to do it with Priceline, but they gave him a chunk of the company to do it.
Right.
But other than that, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. See, Christine Barbic, 8033 with $20. We appreciate that. No question, but we thank you. This is Al Gonzalez is coming in. What do you got, Al? Netflix just closed the deal on Fort Monmouth at the Jersey Shore. The place is massive, and they're putting multi-billions into new studios. They are buying up everything in the surrounding area too. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. Isn't this kind of like going back in time?
Yeah, that's where the
start of the film industry.
That was the origin of the film industry. Well, that is at the Jersey Shore. The original film industry, if you could take that yellow thing down, the Gonzalez thing, then I could I Al Gonzalez my tie pin.
Lift it up a little so I can see.
I can't go any fucking higher, Hunley.
Well, you'll lift your tie. Wait, is it pinned to you?
Well, it's above my name on the screen. How much fucking high can I go? The point of the matter is, Al gave me this tie pin. That's what I was saying. It's from the NYPD.
Well, even more important is his money. So cool. Thank you.
The tie pin is worth a lot more than $10. It's worth the blood and sweat of the men of the NYPD who now have to grovel under the jackboot of the Mandami administration. And sticking with it, and I said this to Al privately, that I believe that Tish's days are numbered as police commissioner. She stormed out of the mayor's office the other day in a tiff. I believe that she will be replaced. And now the stories are circulating again about the police cars implementing Sharia law, these Muslim police cars that look like NYPD police cars that are in the boroughs, circulating around, driving around, enforcing Sharia law, Eric. This has finally made it into the mainstream media a tiny bit. They are brand new police cars covered with blue and white, looking like police cars, looking like NYPD police cars. And they are showing up at Sharia law incidents, enforcing Sharia law in Brooklyn and Queens. And that's probably not so much in Staten Island, but the Bronx and wherever these strongholds are. This is going to be very interesting because Austria, of all places, has outlawed any enforcement of Sharia law privately and civilly in the courts. I hope that is a coal mine a canary in the coal mine for us, because there's been a wink and a nod by the American courts to allow Sharia law to be enforced privately. These police cars are insane. They're dressed like New York City policemen, and they're Muslim police.
Question: what happens when they run into the Chinese police?
Well, all of these
how they're doing
police
that
forces,
shit too.
yeah, there might be a civil war among these different police forces, but they are clearly making the cars look like NYPD.
Of course they are. Of course they are. All right, Pamela. Happy Tuesday, guys. Another great episode again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Pamela's super loyal. And
did he get rid of the whirly bird electricity generating propellers this week with an executive order, Trump? I think I saw that.
Well, he signed that. He stopped the windmills. Like
the windmills I'm talking
a couple
about.
Weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know what was happening with that. I think they're suing him over that.
Oh, of course. I mean,
it's
a revolving door. It's like
he needs,
he needs to sign something to send it right to the courts.
He needs 10 solicitor generals, not one. He needs like an all-star team of solicitor generals. I mean, and keep in mind, Ted Cruz used to be a solicitor general under Bush.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Very effective one, actually.
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Ted Cruz has been to Supreme Court multiple times before he got elected. Patriot Biker 999 has been a member for 12 months. Another great Tuesday live stream. Thanks, guys.
We have to weed out the people who don't like the channel. Eric and I figured out that we will grow as a channel if we get rid of the hate.
Thus, sharing a little bit earlier. I was watching the numbers.
No, I thought I was explaining it to someone after Eric explained it to me. If you're buying an ad for a product, the company's trying to target your audience. If half your audience believes one thing and the other half believes another thing, I don't, mind the fact that they are in a tough spot trying to sell an ad to an audience. In other words, if one side didn't drink beer and they were, a temperance movement, and your show, even on TV, was selling beer, and they found out half your audience were temperance people who did not drink alcohol, let's say were Mormons or something, no beer company is going to buy that ad for a show that has half Mormons. I mean, exaggerating for effect, but we need to weed out the people who are not part of this audience, which we have started to do, according to Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it's slowly but surely, and even watching the numbers, I'm like, okay, yep, they went down, but then others came in, and I hate to disinvite people, but the truth is, if you don't like us, go. Unsubscribe.
But it helps us if they go. From what
it actually does. It's
happy.
Crazy counterintuitive, but it actually is of use.
What a weird twist.
Yeah, it is a ironic situation. AV8 Picks gifted 5 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you very much. And by the way, it makes it more pleasant for everybody else. It's like, if you hate it here and you got to complain in the chat and stuff, the people who are enjoying the show and hanging out, having a good time,
we don't want you here. Yeah, we don't want you here. We don't want you to get aggravated. We're trying to have some fun with this stuff and tell the news and have some fun. We don't really need some aggravated person. This might not be the place for you. There's plenty of places to go. I mean, please, I beg you, get out of here. Don't have a heart attack over this stuff.
Absolutely. And those of us
Eric
who do
explained
like
to me hate watching. I didn't know what hate watching was.
Oh, well, okay. Hate watching, a good demonstration of that is the movie Private Parts, Howard Stern's movie, when the played by Paul Giamatti,
pig
Pig vomit. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, it wasn't him saying it, but he was being approached by somebody who was reading the Nielsen numbers or whatever they were. He's like, it's unbelievable. People love it. They're watching longer than anything. And he's like, oh, okay, wow. He said, well, what about people who hate the show? They're watching even longer.
Wow.
And as a weird example, I had a workmate in the old company I worked for. I got kind of put in a place with somebody who was already there. And he turned on Rush Limbaugh every day and screamed at the radio.
Wow.
Every day. He listened to Rush Limbaugh. I had never been across that before, but this guy religiously, so he listened to every minute of the show and would just be yelling at it the whole time. And I'm kind of going, if you don't like the dude, why are you listening to him?
Well,
I got into what he's saying.
They're fanatics.
I mean, if you must hate watch us, I guess, but be nice to the other people in the chat. But for those who do like us, you know what? You may want to hit subscribe, and then we can.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
We can outnumber the haters, so to speak. Let's see, Vince D 6607, I think. Great show, guys. Thank you, Vince, very very much. And we have here $50 from Edward Laughlin 9107. Wow.
Yeah,
very generous.
I agree with Ed. I agree. It's completely insane. I've never seen the officiating more off the rails and erratic.
Well, let me read it out loud for the people listening. Yeah. I believe that NFL officiating is being controlled for the gambling. The calls make no sense.
The calls absolutely make no sense. I've never seen more receptions. Guys holding the ball for an hour. Running 75 yards and then fumbling the ball, and it's called an incomplete pass. I mean, that thing, the spotting of the down markers without the chains. I didn't know they did away with the chains, for Christ's sakes. It's now being done by computer, and who controls the computer? Who's controlling the line markers? I mean, it's wide open for corruption. I mean, and I'm talking about multiple games having no connection, both teams. The officiating is off the rails. I mean, they're not fighting with these people, but the reality of it is that the spotting of the ball, these calls of pass interference, non-pass interference. I mean, things that they used to do physically, they have now completely figured out a way to, I guess, let the computers do it. It just goes back to New York for an hour. You wait around. The guy's got to throw a challenge flag, and it comes back. This is with the experts watching the show, watching it in slow motion, bringing in an off-duty ref that they've hired to be their analyst, all saying the opposite of what the call is. So it's not just that was a good call. It's the entire staff disagreeing with the call. I don't know how long this is sustainable, Ed.
Well, what did I say about AI? Watch that come in. It's already, I think,
it already is with
in tennis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, pretty soon it won't really matter. There won't be a human involved. Justin 1968 has to say, there are too many communists in control of our institutions. We need a new version of Joe McCarthy. Agree.
I was talking to Dr. Drew yesterday about that, and we were discussing that very sentiment about the institutions and the need for Joe McCarthy. So you're not alone there. Other people agree with you and are discussing it.
Oh, and I've said it before that as time has come on, it shows exactly how important and what a true hero he was, because his influence was felt for 50 plus years.
And not only that, how much they tried to demonize him is demonstrate on their side how important they felt he was against them. I mean, this was almost taught at birth in kindergarten.
All right, fair enough. There's a Rumble rant here from I'm Scooter Pie, $10. Thank you. James Coburn was the first actor to get paid $1 million for an ad. He said 2 words: Schlitz Light.
Oh, it could be. I mean, if you watch the Bill Murray movie that Sofia Coppola did, where he goes to Japan, the plot is that he has to go to Japan to promote a liquor over there in Japan because he doesn't want to do it here. A lot of
stars were doing that for a while.
That's right. Woody Allen did it and they wouldn't come into this market. And now the greed has overwhelmed them because their careers and the film industry is collapsing around them. you're beginning to see the resurrection of older minor stars in movies. Not minor stars, but older stars in movies every year getting awards now, where they'll cherry pick one a year. Last year was Demi Moore in The Substance. This year it's Goldie Hawn's daughter in something. They're cherry picking one older star a year to now be the focus of their movies.
You know, it's probably not the same, but it kind of reminds me of classic rock, where there's like 200 tracks that they just keep playing over and over and over and over and over. It's like, is that what they're doing with the stars? They're recycling these are the accepted older stars. And
well, they're just making a movie with throwing a star in there to raise money for the movie, but then they're promoting that old star to get the Academy Award to again promote the movie with dragging out these older stars. And it's so transparently obvious what they're doing, you know.
Wow. Well, you know what? In a lot of ways, I'm like, just die, industry, die. I really don't care that much.
That's what happened to the record industry.
Yep. And the acts have had to go out on their own the hard way, learn from the Grateful Dead, and
I mean, these
people
could go back to theater. I mean, there is a viable theater world out there that people could go into and put on Broadway shows and be on the boards in England and everywhere else. I mean, there was this before the film industry even started. But getting back to that comment,
like Robert Rodriguez. Independent movies, like Robert Rodriguez has built his own studio out in Texas, and there's possibilities.
You have to have a theater to put it in, and those theaters are closing up faster than you could shake a stick at, because their basic financial structure was 50% of every dollar that came into the movie theater that weekend. They would back up, the studios would send a armored truck on Monday, and they still do. They send an armored truck on Monday to pick up the receipts, and it's a 50-50 split with theater owners. But those theaters are going out of business faster than you could shake a stick at, because they can't support the model anymore. There's 5 people in the theater on a Sunday.
Gee, I wonder why.
Right, but I'm saying even if you're an indie person,
no, I'm saying, but if the movies suck and people don't want to watch them, if they get a good movie, Maverick filled up the theaters. As an example, Top Gun Maverick, they were able to do that.
Right, but you can't survive between movies. You know what I mean? So it's too big of a gap.
Yeah. Well, that sucks to be them. But I know, I don't live there, and I don't really care that much about them, in fairness.
Right.
But what I do care about, though,
he hates them, Hunley. He really hates them.
No, hate them. Hate. You know what? Hate is too strong of an emotion. It's more of an indifference.
Right.
The opposite of love is indifference.
Right.
But on that note, we are going to be heading over to locals, those people we do love. And to take us out, I've got a clip from Akira the Don, kind of a in remembrance of Scott Adams, just a little bit of a clip of something he did for Scott Adams with his work. And yes, I had, his permission. I've had him on multiple times to take us out. I hope you all consider coming over to locals, seeing us there. There's a link in the description. We're going to continue chatting and boiling the ocean and solving all the world's problems at locals. Unstructured.locals.com. If you're listening, hope to see you there, and have a great evening.
How many of you live in regret of past decisions? I've never had that feeling. Regret is the dumbest thing you could ever feel. If there was something that you're not happy about in your past, just imagine you just spawned into this environment today like a video game. Just imagine you just woke up and this is the stuff you have to play with. Usually, you're fine. You might have a terrible problem you have to deal with, but usually, you wake up and you're like, I'm healthy. I have ways I can get ahead. I know what to do if I wanted to get ahead. Yeah. Oh, shit. Here we go again. I'll start here. This would be a good starting place. So think of today as your starting place, and then just see how it is. And if you don't like your starting place, the next question is, how hard would it get from where you are to this better place? Well, you apply for a better job, you learn some more skills, you talk to your cousin who's got a job opening. You do some stuff, but probably you're fine. So when you ask me, do I regret a past decision? The answer is never. I don't have any regret about anything. And if you're thinking in those terms, you're really hurting yourself.